Okay, it's time. I think that we can start. Jin, are good? Okay. Okay, so hello everyone. Thank you for choosing to attend my tutorial. I will be talking in the next 3 hours about how we can gather data from the web using Python. Okay. A bit of the agenda. Um, I will be talking at the start. I will talk about some web scraping fundamentals. So we will understand why we want to scrape data from the internet and some tools that we have in our Python ecosystem. And after that, we will be talking about Scrapy, which is the library, a framework in reality, that we use in Python to scrape data. And then after that, I don't want you to be tired hearing me talking. We will do some exercises. We will have 4 different exercises during the tutorial that I will expect you to do in your own computer. I believe that you should, probably. If not, I hope it's a problem in the system, but I sent an email to you a few days ago asking you to prepare the environment and install Scrapy. But I believe that it will be straightforward if you need to do during the tutorial. I can help if something needed. But we will have 4 exercises, and each exercise we will be scraping a fake website that was developed for web scraping tasks. But it has these websites, they have the majority of the main ideas, main challenges that we will face in a real website. Of course, it's a simplified version of the challenges, but I want you to get the whole idea of how to approach the problem when you see a website like that and understand, okay, this looks like exercise 2, or this looks like exercise 4. And then I will be talking a bit about headless browsers. I know that a lot of people that start with web scraping, you start thinking about headless browsers to help you to get data. You will see that it's useful, but usually you don't need to get data from most of the websites. And I'll talk about Beyond the Spiders and question and answer. There is a question and answer here, but if you have any question during the tutorial, raise your hand and ask, and I will try to answer at the time, or I will say, no, I will talk about that later. This happens a lot. I start to talk about something, and this. Okay, this will be handled in the next section. But, okay. Just to have an idea, so I can know the audience, in this room, who works with Python less than 3 years? Just raise your hand. Okay. And who already work with web scraping or already did web scraping in a professional way? Okay. And who knows scraping? Okay, it will be new. Okay. So you that know scraping, I hope that it will not be too simple. But yeah, we always can get something new. Okay. Well, first let's present myself. Why you should listen to me. I'm Renne. I'm from Brazil, and I worked with web scraping for several years. I worked at a company that maintained Scrapy, and I worked in a professional way with scraping for a lot of different industries, collecting data from e-commerce websites, real estates, and so on. And right now, I'm the maintainer of Querido Diário. Querido Diário is a project that gathering data from government in Brazil. We have a lot of official diaries, which is the documents that every city has to publish everything that they are doing. They hiring, the companies they are contracting, the buildings that they want to do, everything should be there. And each city provides it in a different way, and usually in PDF. And we have this project that we are trying to gather data from all these cities. So we have a lot of web scrapers. I am the maintainer of the web scrapers. So we are getting hundreds of cities, but reaching almost 70% of the population of the country. I'm also maintainer of Spidermon. I will talk a bit in the end, but it's a tool that helps you to monitor your web scrapers. I'm also the co-founder of Laboratório Hacker de Campinas, which is a hacker space in Campinas, a city that I live close. That it's a open space community for hackers, nerds, and technology enthusiasts to develop your projects and build projects, software, electronic, mechanical, anything that the space can accept. You can follow me on Mastodon at Renne Rocha at chaos.social, or you can try to find me at Renne Rocha in the majority of other social networks. I'm using this username. Okay. So why we want to gather data and automatically from the web? First thing that we need data to make decisions, business decisions. So we need to know what our competitors are doing. I don't know if in the front of the slide. Okay. We want to know if our competitors are doing something, or how my brand is or how the market, real estate market, or we need to take decision about, I want to understand why my government is doing things this or like that, the project of the government is good or not. I need to be able to discuss with my congressman. So I need to get data from the government to take decisions. And it should be, and they also need to get structured data from structured sources. So for example, in Querido Diário, we have our data source is in a PDF, and we collect and convert to text. But you can have data sparse in different sources. So a product in an e-commerce website, I can have information about the product, information about the reviews in different parts of the website, and we need to gather and structure it in a way that it's useful to me. And it needs to be automatic. We cannot go to each website, click on the page, and download manually, because the quantity of data that you have available right now is so overwhelming, and it's impossible, okay, to do it manually. And some common use cases that we have from WebScript. Certainly we have more, right? But these are the most common. Well, this is the hottest topic, AI. So I don't say AI, I said machine learning. But we need data to train our models. Of course, there are some ethical and moral discussions about which kind of data that we are collecting. But we need to get the data to train our models. Even inside a company, if you are e-commerce company and we want to use this data to process and create price models, etc., it's a common use case. Government data, this is something that I'm more close. It's my main use case right now on web scraping, to get data from government. In Brazil, we have a law for information access. So by law, they should, sometimes they don't, but they should provide the data in a way that we can access by computers, but sometimes they didn't, and we need to do some web scraping. But sometimes we have some APIs. But okay, it's a fair use. Price intelligence, so we can track prices of things. I want to buy something, I can track the price. Brand monitoring, I want to know what people are talking about my brand in different websites. Consumer sentiment, okay, what people are talking about me. So let's get a lot of reviews and process it with other algorithms. Because when you talk about all the beautiful machine learning and AI and applications, we talk about what we do with the data, but not how we get the data to be there. So, okay, we will do a lot of analysis of reviews, use NLP algorithms, beautiful, but we need to get the data. Competitors' product data, real estate data. This is an interesting one. My hackerspace, we use that because real estate websites, they are terrible to navigate, and we need to navigate in different websites, and they are slow. And I collect data from a bunch of real estate websites, plot the locations in a map, and then we found a new house for our hackerspace. We use WebScript for that. And any application that benefits from data gathered from the internet. So I'll use case for that. Talking about the Python ecosystem, we have, if you search now on your any search engine right now for web scraping Python, probably you will be showed with the following libraries: requests and beautiful soup. These are the most common ever one that try to do some web scraping that are not professional or even professional. I know that people inside companies use that tools. Use requests to get the content and use beautiful soup to parse the content. By the way, since that this year is it's the anniversary of Beautiful Soup, I think that it will be something related to this project here at PyCon this year. But there are some other libraries that you can use. We have HTTPX, which is can be used as requests, as a replacement. So we can use it to get the content from the internet. And we can use Parcel, which is a library that is also used by Scrapy. It's similar to Beautiful Soup. In my personal opinion, maybe it's biased because I use the Scrapy, so it's used that, but it's easy to parse content, use CSS and XPath, and I think that's easier to use. So I will be talking about Parcel during the rest of the tutorial, okay? Also, headless browsers. Requests and HTTPX can get the content on the internet, but it will get the raw data of the page, nothing processed. And we know that today we have a lot of JavaScript processing the data. So we get the data, and the page is empty, basically, because every heavy load is done by JavaScript processing, getting more data from the internet, using internal APIs and getting data and process. So we can use a headless browser, which is basically a browser, but not with the visual part of it, to get the data. So we have Selenium, which is other, together with requests and Beautiful Soup. Selenium is the third answer in a search engine about doing web scraping. And Playwright is another nice tool that we can use. I will use that. And okay, we have these tools, and we have a complete framework. It only doesn't have the headless part, but we have extensions for that, which is scraping. And I will show why scrape is cool to do a project. So let's start with an example. So I want to get all the tutorial titles of the PyCon schedule. Okay. So we have here. First, we get the response, and we do a request get call to the page of the tutorials. Okay. Let's think about a use case for that. Why I would want to do that? I noticed that I cannot put it in a calendar, in my Google Calendar or anything. So I can use web scraping to collect the data that is structured in a way that people will see on the internet, but not structured in a way that I can create an ICS file to import into my calendar. So I can use web scraping to scrape the data and generate it in a format that I use. So this is a fair use for web scraping. So we get the data, and then we use a selector. This is just for create a way for the parcel to process the data so you can do some searches inside it. Then I use a CSS selector and get all tutorials that we have and print it on the screen. Okay. I recorded some of my code, so it's safer than do live coding. But I will do a lot of live coding, but this is safer. So it print everything, and it will be in an infinite loop. But I will do some coding, but I did some cache in my computer, so if the internet is not that good, you will still be able to see the results. Maybe you'll not be able to run locally, but okay. But you can run this code if you already downloaded the repository. That is a code directory, and you can run it yourself if you install the requirements, and it will work, and you can see it happen. It's good. It's always good to run. Even if you're not running right now, you can run later. But this is a very simple example. Okay. And okay, this works fine, but it can be done for my use case that I imagined to create a calendar to import to my personal calendar. But what if I have thousands of URLs to process? I can have thousands. For the same or different domains, I can have thousands of products, thousands of real estate locations. Or I want to export the data, because in that example I just printed. But I want to export a CSV or a JSON file, XML, to input into our database, and then we can do a lot of fancy machine learning stuff inside of it. I want to manage the rate. I didn't talk about that, but if you have thousands of websites, suddenly for your computer, you start to target the website and getting data. Probably they will block you, or depending how the server was prepared, maybe you can create a DDoS of the website. You need to be polite. You cannot do that. You need to be fine. I want your data, but I don't want to break your computer, your server. We need to manage the rate of the data, because we don't want to degrade our target server. Or I want to monitor. Or I want to run the same crawler multiple times. So this is the reason that Scrapy is a good choice in the Python world. Certainly, you can do all of this using regular Python and requests and HTTPX and parcel, beautiful soup. You can do a lot of this, but you need to write your code. For example, I want to be my code because this code is synchronous. When we are waiting for requests to get, we wait until the website returns to us. So it may take 120 milliseconds. Okay, for one website it's fine, but for 1,000 it starts to get worse. And okay, and then what I see a lot is people, okay, let's try to use threads. Now we have one more problem to handle, not just the web scraping. We have the threads problem to solve. Or we can use subprocess and async IO, and we can do a lot of things. But Scrapy solved most of these problems. So it's a good tool to use that solves most of the problems. It's application framework for creating, for crawling. It has batteries. So it has the parsing of HTML, the beautiful soap. It has asynchronous. It used twisted. And now they are, I think that in the latest version they included async IO. I'm not entirely sure, but maybe. Data pipeline, so you can do some post-processing of the data that we are returning. So you can do some filtering or do some cleanup on the results. I don't recommend to do a lot of cleanup on this data when running, script, so, but get more raw data and process later. It will be a bit faster, but okay, but you can do. It handles the sessions, so if I have a session to open to website, it handles session cookies. So if I get a cookie, it will keep the cookie and process it. I can manage that. And exporting data, and very extensible. We can include a lot of middlewares, download the extensions, and of course, it's open source. It's managed by a company. It was called Scrapping Hub, now it's Zeit. They are the maintainers, but there are other companies that provide services on web scraping. So it's a project that certainly will not be unmaintained in future. You can use that. It's a industry-proved and industry-used framework for web scraping. Okay, I put the tutorial material. It's just the link for the repository that has a code. I sent by email. I send a message to you. So if you receive that and download it, otherwise you can download. I will not wait for you to download, but you can download while I'm talking. But it has this presentation. The presentation is HTML5, so you can open your browser, the presentation. It also have all the source codes. It has a boilerplate code for the exercise, and it has a directory with exercise solutions or something like that. I don't remember the name. Please don't look at the solutions yet. Wait until you try to do the exercise. Okay, please. But you can do if you want. I will not blame you if you look into the solutions. This is just a quick explain how to install in Linux. So you clone the repository, create a virtual environment, and enter in the code, and we have a few requirements there. And install a lot of things, and we will see a script version. It will be 2.11.1. It's the current version of Scrapy. If you have problems with other platforms, we have a link here. We have a link here where you can look basically how to install on Windows. Windows has some trick things how to do, and I couldn't provide instructions because I believe that 15 years that I have no access to a computer with Windows, so unfortunately I cannot help with Windows. But it seems that if you use Conda, it looks, at least for the explanation on script documentation, it is the best way to handle that. Okay. Any questions so far, or I'm talking too fast, or too? Oh, okay, yeah. A quick fix. The requirements is not in code, it's in the root of the repository. Yeah, I did change that a few days in, forgot to update the slides. Thank you. Okay. If I'm talking too fast, please stop me. Okay. Is it good, the pace? Yeah? Okay. Okay. I don't want you to get tired too. I don't want you to sleep. That's why I asked Jean not to turn off all the lights of the room. Otherwise, you're going to be sleeping right now. Okay. Yeah, I recorded how. Yeah, I need to show that. It was fun to do. I discovered this terminalizer library. It's a JavaScript library. I had to use npm. It was a bit difficult to me. I don't know exactly how to use npm, pretty much. But okay, I recorded. I want you to see it. Really? Yeah. You have a Mac? You can do that? Oh, that's nice. Unfortunately, I don't have a Mac. But for who has a Mac, there is a way. She knows a way to record screen. And then we start the requirements. And this was recorded before I changed the directory. But okay, the idea is the same. Wow, it's a lot of stuff. Okay, oops. What? Okay, Scrapy version. That is it. Okay, so let's talk a bit about the Scrapy architecture. Uh, we have the internet here on the right, and this beautiful cloud. Well, it's a cloud. But everything in Scrapy starts on this top blue area here, where we have the spiders. Okay, so everything starts with a spider, and then in the spider we do requests to the web page that we want to reach. So the spider yields a lot of requests, so, and go to the Scrapy engine here in the middle. And what did this engine do? It gets, okay, I have a request. Let's send you to the scheduler. Why? Because this is asynchronous. We can send thousands of requests at once. But the engine of Scrapy will send it to a scheduler, and the scheduler will see, okay, I can send 20 concurrent requests at the same time. And then the scheduler we send the request back. Okay, engine, this is time for you to send this request to the internet. Okay? The engine will send the request to the downloader here on the right. The downloader is the part that, okay, is where just like request, it's where it does the connection to the internet and say, okay, get me data. And everything else will be running at the same time. And when the internet return with the response, so I can send a request now and get a response 10 seconds later, and the request that was sent 2 seconds later will be returned before. So think asynchronous. It's not synchronous. You send a request, you have no idea when you will get the response back, or if you get the response back. You get the response, but this is the happy path. The engine will get, okay, I have a response, and I send back the response to the spider. And the spider class, we have a callback, and this callback will process the response. And the response, okay, now we get the HTML of the page, or the JSON content, if it's an API call, or whatever. And now I will process and create an item. What is an item? It can be something as simple as a Python dict, or we have some Scrapy item type, or it can be a data class or a Pydantic model. It can be anything. And the spider will yield this item. So a spider can yield requests or items. If it's an item, if it's a request, sent to the scheduler. If it's an item, it will go to the item pipeline, which will do the post-process of the item. We can create a chain of data pipelines to do some processing, filter data that we don't want to, clean up, save in a database, and then we have exporters where you can export the data and later. Yeah, we don't have the exporters here. Anyway. When you have a request and response, these blue boxes here, and here, this is the location of the middlewares. So that is the good part. You can create your own middleware. So here, we can change the headers of our request. We can change how we are going to do the request and use a proxy. So we can pretend that we are not in Pittsburgh. I can have a proxy that will make my request looks like it's been sent in from Brazil, because I want to access a website, because we know that sometimes the content of the website depends on the location. So we can do that. Or we can use a third-party library to do something with the request, or filtering. There are a lot of things that we can do with the middlewares. You can also replace the downloader too. So we can create our own way to download data from the internet. So we are not fixed with the Scrapy way. For example, I will show later. we have a downloader that instead of using HTTP connection, it uses headless browser. It opens a headless browser, Playwright, download using it, and get the response back, and send it back to the Scrapy. So Scrapy doesn't know that the data came from Playwright. The downloader handle that, and all the rest can be the same. So it's good, because sometimes you start a page, it works fine, and they change things, and okay, now I will just use the headless browser because it's better. We can do that. So this is the why I personally like to use Scrapy for my web scraping project instead of request. I use request if it's just one-time thing, and okay, it works, but anyway. So spiders, I'll talk about spiders. They are the main class of Scrapy, and it defines how we will scrape a certain website, and how to perform the crawl, follow the links, and how to extract the structured data from the page. So we scrape data. And usually we have one for each domain. Usually. I had projects with multiple domains, but it has a different way to how to extract the data. But okay. But usually it's one for domain. You can use this rule and thumb. I have a domain, use one spider. And you can create any number of spiders. So this is the same code that I showed before to get the titles of the tutorials of PyCon. So we have a class, simple Python class that inherits from script.spider. We need to have a name. Okay. We can have a lot of other options, but this is important. We have the start URLs. It's a list of the URLs that we want to scrape. But this is just syntactic sugar of this method. It's called start request, which here we have a list of URLs, and for each URL we yield a new request here and send it to the engine that will schedule it and send it back. I'm not returning, okay? Why? Because all these methods here are generators, because they are asynchronous. So I can yield any number of requests here. I don't have a limit for that. We'll just throw the requests away to the engine, and it's up to the engine to handle it. I'm the spider, I'm just throwing requests. And when the when the request that I send come back, we have a callback. And one moment, I have no I send a lot of requests. I have no idea when, the order of the response. But when a response is back, we have a parse method. This is the default name, but you can have your own. We receive the response, and then we can process it and yield an item. In this case, a dictionary with title and tutorial. Oh, I recorded this one. Yeah, okay. So I will not need to do anything. So I will run Spider, the name of the file. This is just one way to run Spider, right? It do a lot of things and provide the data. But maybe this is better to run so you can see other stuff. So which one is that? Is that one? Yeah, it's that one. So this is the code. Are you seeing well the code? Yeah, okay. So Scrapy, run Spider, the name of the file, run. Okay, it was fast, but okay. So we have the logs are useful. Okay, now we start. We have a list of middleware and extensions that are enabled, which are things that in the middle of the process that we can manipulate how we are doing the logs, how we are monitoring everything. The settings, we didn't override any setting. We have the middlewares, so HTTP auth, download timeout, how to handle download timeout, user agent, retry. We can do some retries if the website didn't work. So we have here, the spider is open, and it sent a request. We don't see the here, but at this moment we crawled the content of this URL, and from this URL we scraped this data here, this data here, this was yesterday, this data, and you have all the tutorials. Where is my tutorial? Let me find my tutorial. Oh, here it is. Here's the tutorial we are in right now. Okay, we have a lot of tutorials, logs, blah, blah, blah. And in the end, we have the stats. So we did one GET request. We got this amount of bytes, one response with a 200 status code, so a successful. Finish time, elapsed time, the number of items returned, 24, and other stats. Stats are good. You can create your own statistics, and this could be useful for you to monitor your web scraper. Okay, let me come back here. Okay, so we scrape the data, and now we need to parse the data. The content is there, we have the response, and we want to parse the data. What we can, the usual ways that you do in a scrape to parse the data. We can use CSS selectors. So if you already code some CSS, you can use selectors to get a specific class of products, a specific tags, not products, or for an ID or a type of tag that you want. Okay, I want to get all the paragraphs or all the header one types where you have the information that you want, etc. Or we also can use XPath. XPath is a markup language. You can use that to navigate to a document, an XML document or HTML document. So you can navigate and get information from it. It looks a bit, usually I prefer CSS selectors. They are easier, but sometimes a good XPath may be useful for more complicated ways to gather the data, because people don't care much to create a beautiful and easy to access HTML. It needs to work on computer, not for us to read. So sometimes it's more difficult to find use CSS selectors than XPath. But this is something you should not worry about that. This is, I think, that you get with the experience. It's not possible for me. I'm not expecting you that you leave the tutorial knowing how to do the CSS, using CSS selectors or XPath as a pro. It's very difficult. And it takes time and experience to understand which is better to use or not. I don't even know all the possible ways to do an XPath or CSS selector. I just know the basics. That is enough for me for most of my tasks. So some examples of CSS selector. So remember that you see in the parse a response. This response, it's a HTTP response class from Scripy, and it has a few methods that helps you to process the content. We have a .text, yes, it's .text, which you have a big string of the HTML that you received. Sometimes this is what we want to manipulate. Or we also have the .css, which will apply over that response. It will apply a CSS selector. So we can select here. Here we are selecting all the tags in the document, which is H1. It's a header. or all UL with hashtag offers, so ever UL with the ID offers, or ever any tag that has the class product with on it. So we have a div class equal to product, and inside that div we have all the product information that we want in an e-commerce website, for example, and you can use that to select. Or you can do something more complex. Inside the offers, we get all the products class, and inside the product class, we want the link, the reference, and you can get the href, the URL of the product. Or we want the text of this class, or the content inside the paragraph. Okay, just examples what you can do, and you can do a lot of more. You need to take a look on the internet how to use CSS selectors. So here it's way more complete from the same spider. They start where URLs are the same, and then we will do get more data, not just the title, because just the title is useless. We can do we can do much with just the titles, probably. So for here we have the CSS. We got all the class presentation. I will open the site. I think that will be clear. I think that it will be easier if I really show the content. Okay, this is the page of the tutorial schedule for both days. So let's inspect the content. Let me do a thing. Separate. No. I can increase the size. Okay, takes the maximum. I hope that you in the back can see it. I cannot increase the size. So we have here a div with a class container. So I can select it using a dot container. If I have more than one, it will return iterable of all these classes. But if I go here and this panel, and I have, where did I see the presentation? Here, header, slot. Oh, here. We have a div with a class called presentation. Okay, and this is what I select here. So we have the presentation, and then we get here. Here we got each tutorial. It will be a representation of this selector. Okay, and for each tutorial, I'm getting the class speaker and the text content of this class, this div. So we have this Daksh Gupta. And then we have the URL, which is here, but we are getting the href, which is this. And this is something interesting. We have this response.url join. Why? Because here we have a relative URL. If you open it, it will add the us.pycon.org domain. So we use it's a helper method, just to avoid you to need to do the URL join manually. It's exactly the same URL join that we have in URLib, but the first part is the domain of the website that you're targeting. So then we return all the information here. Let me close that. Okay. Okay. This is CSS. We also have XPath. Almost the same, but here, you need to be aware of the slashes. Two slashes means that you're looking into the entire tree of elements. So it will get all the H1 of the entire document. If it's just one, it will look in the root, like in the HTML part of the code. Here I'm getting the second H1. XPath is one based index, so it starts on 1. It's not like Python that starts on 0. Or I want the UL with the ID equal to offers, or I have the LI, or the A, the link, and the href, the URL. Or we can do some fancy stuff like I want all the LI with a class equal to add, but I don't want this. I want the following sibling LI, which is the same in the same level in the Dune tree that match. So this is why sometimes NextPath is useful. It can do this relative manipulation of the DOM, trying to find things relative to others. It looks a bit more complex, but yeah, it will be complex every time. It will not get better, but at least you understand what's happening. And if you want to create more problems, you can also add regex inside of the XPath. So then you need to use regex and XPath. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I like that much. But regex is something that when you start doing web scraping, it's something that it's very helpful for you to know how to use it. It helps you a lot to get the data. So this is the same, but now I'm using the XPath. Or you can mix. You don't need to use just XPath or just CSS. You can use whatever you want. You can change that. And this is using the parcel, the library parcel. If I don't like parcel, I hate to use this .css and .xpath, I'm so good using Beautiful Soup. Okay, go for it. The response, you have the .text, you get the string of the HTML that you get from the page. Just install Beautiful Soup and start parsing using Beautiful Soup. Or maybe you already have a parsing code that you don't want to convert it to partial. You just put inside the parsing. It's not. It's up to you. You have the response. You have the text. You can do whatever you need to do to get the data, which is easier for you to get the data. If you're using Beautiful Soup or even other library, but maybe it will appear tomorrow, you can use it. It's up to you. It's just a method. And the only thing that is this method will yield items or requests. Let me run this spider. So, okay, this one. So, script here, spider. Don't worry, you will be coding soon. Okay, I know that you are tired to hear me talking a lot, but you will be coding. Don't worry. So I will run this one. Sorry? You don't see what I'm typing? Okay, let me try to do something here. You can see now? Okay. Yes, I can. I think now it's better. I put in the middle of the screen. So you scrapey, run spider, the name of the file. You run. Boop. It runs fast. And 24 items. but you can see that right now we have more information. We have the name of the speaker. We have, oh, you should talk with this guy. It's amazing how he does creative coding. He will be presented this afternoon. And the schedule and the title. So we have all the others here. Let me go back to the presentation. Okay, yeah, that's interesting. Okay, you can see that in the results, it's just in the logs. It's useless, okay? Just in std out, I can't do anything. It's not in a database where I can parse, select, and do stuff on it. It's useless. So I need to export data. So we can export data. We have some commands here. If you put, let me show you. Let me run the smaller version. Otherwise, the line will be too long. If I put -O and results, and now it's the interesting part. I want it to be a CSV file. So I put .csv, okay, run it, and now I have, you can see, results.csv. And it's a CSV file. Speaker, URL, title, and we have a CSV file that you can now open on, on anything that you want. LibreOffice, it's up to you. Or, okay, I want, there are other formats, built-in formats, XML. Who is talking? Please raise your hand because I. Okay, yeah. He asked me the later. Let's comment. It was the run spider, the name of the spider. Yeah, sure. So you can put it in XML. So we have an XML representation. We also can have a JSON representation. You just replace XML with JSON. I will run in a few minutes. And also we can have a JSON line. When I run the JSON and JSON line, you will notice it's a small difference, but it will make things better, especially in long spider that returns thousands of items in an execution. So I have .json and .jl, which is JSON line. I will show the difference. So if you open the .json version, you see that it starts with a square bracket here, and it's a list. You can see in the end you have the commas. So we have a list of all the title, all the tutorials as a list. Inside, yeah. But if you look into the JL, which is the JSON line, you see that each line is an entire JSON content. Okay. Why we would prefer to use one or another? When you are using a JSON, the spider is running, and it needs to keep in memory all the items in memory until the spider finished, and then export the data. So if it's just 24 items, doesn't matter the use of memory. But when we are talking about 10,000, 100,000 items, yeah, there are some spider that runs for some 24 hours and get 200 and or more. You can't put that on memory. You have no memory for that. So you use a JSON line, which is the same JSON, but it is creating the result file on the fly. It gets a bunch at the time, I believe, but in small batches, so it frees your memory from the content that you are scraping. Okay. But okay, but I don't like. I want a YAML content, or I want whatever. I have no idea. We can have people will appear with a different format. You can do that. You can simply, instead of using this for default from Scrapy, you can create your own feed export. You can create, export the file and send it. We have the export to create the data, but also where you save the data. Because the regular is to save it in your file system. But you can also configure it to export the file in an S3 bucket or any bucket that can follow this S3 pattern you can use, or in Google Cloud or anything. And also you can create your own. There is one for FTP, and it will, I think that FTP is a built-in. So we can do an FTP to your server. You can do whatever you want. Okay. I think that we are, yes, 1 hour. Yeah, it went well on schedule. You are tired to hear me talking, and now I want you to code, right? I think that we have half an hour now. I believe that we can handle the first, probably the second exercise. Don't know. Let's see how it will go. And the idea is, I will present you with a challenge. I will explain the challenge, and then you try, you talk with your with the person next to you. You can interact. You can ask me questions. I think that 10 minutes for each exercise would be enough. I hope, at least for the first one. And then let's start getting some data. We will be using a website called TrueScrape.com. This is a sandbox website that has some fictional websites, but they are suitable for web scraping. So you will be able, we have some real world challenges that you will face during your own problems to solve. So let's try the exercise 1. Let me show it. First, let me show the website. Okay, this is the sandbox. It has a fictional bookstore. We are not going to work on that one, but you can later to test your skills or try a real website. And we have a website with quotes. This is the one that we are going to use. We have the first one. We have here a list of quotes of a lot of different persons. And we have a pagination here. So we go to page 2, more, page 3, more, and so on. And what I want to scrape now, I want you to get the quote, the name of the person that said the quote, the URL. If you move over here, you see that this is an URL which brings us to a page with details. I don't care about the details for now. And I want this link, and I want the list of tags. Okay? Let me go back to the... Okay. And export into JSON lines file, but You can export any way you want. Mm, a tip. As I mentioned before, this is the first part. When you open the first page of the quotes, you can extract each quote like I did before with the tutorials. You can do the same idea. You get for quote in response dot something and a selector to get the quote, and then you use everything that you find in the page. But you need to go to the next page. What you should do? You should get the link, and then you can use a new request with a callback. If you are going to use the same parse callback, you don't need to provide it. It can be just the URL. So use that information to do the pagination. Let me open the page too. And if you click here and view page source, you can see how is the HTML of the page. So you can look into that and see where is the quote. So we have here, so we can extract it. And then, okay, yes, that's it, the challenge. Oh, gosh. Oh, the answer is here. Oh, no. Okay, I was open the exercise solutions. I don't want you to see the solutions yet. Okay, so here I have another thing. It's called allowed domains. This is optional. We don't need to put that. Sometimes when you have a page with a lot of links, sometimes you don't want to follow a link in a different domain. You can keep only in the same domain. So you can put that. So you can have a list of domains that you are locked in. Okay. Okay, so let's work. And I will give you a few minutes. And if you have questions, ask me or ask your friend by your side. Let's see what we can do in the next minutes. Okay. Ow. Okay. Sorry.
When I run this code from the beginning, this copy runs, I'm getting an error.
Go to the end. Oh, go up. Down, down, down. A bit down. More. What is
What is that? Module not found.
half?
It says module not found error.
Okay. I think this is something to do with the install of the Windows. How did you install it? Because this is one of the libraries that usually is built in with, I think that with SSL. And yes, it's related to how you install the script.
I installed, I don't know, I downloaded the requirement file, I created a virtual environment, downloaded everything there, and
Okay, sorry. To be fair, I have no idea.
okay,
Yeah, you can try, but this looks when you install the script, it has to get the SSL library, and it has some requirements that need to be installed, and this are compiled thing.
okay,
So maybe you can try to install use Conda as the script documentation suggests, and probably with Conda it will get everything that you need.
okay.
You can see in the script docs it has how to install on Windows. Windows is sometimes a
This is
bit
Mac.
comp.
Yeah.
Huh?
This is Mac.
Oh, it's a Mac.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So Linux should work like the commands you gave.
Yes,
It should work also.
yeah, should work. I don't know. Maybe we can try to look into that error message and see how to fix it and reinstall. Probably this will make
Okay,
it.
I'll look into it. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
But
Sorry
this is
for.
not a common error. Okay. I just
No,
thought
no,
maybe this is a common thing that you have.
no. This is not a common thing.
Okay. Alright.
This
Thank
is
you.
more than environment stuff. But sorry for not being able to help you.
No, it's okay.
Sorry. Let me. First. Yep.
So when the instruction not very clear. So get a list of codes available on the page.
Yes. This is how to get a list of code.
I understand. So basically, which one are you trying to get? That's the one. So you're trying to get the world this. You're trying to get everything here.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. So if I go to the view source, so the world, I don't see the world. I see the code. So I should just do the class code.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. That's the point. You get the,
Okay, I got it.
or you can use the CSS. But yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
And then also, what does yield do? So yield gets some speaker. This is the part I'm a little confused about the yield. I got the the response part. What does speaker do? What does this part do? The yield something something.
Yeah, is how you are sending back to the system the items that you are processing. So for each tutorial, in this case for each quote that you are returning a dictionary with the information that you want to
Yeah, but
to collect.
so how do I display this? So basically, if I got this, so my question for you is, if I get these things back, so if I get these things, so how do I display this thing? So I got these things back. Now how do I display this?
And then when you run the spider, you will need to put the .o to export the.
That's not my question.
Okay, sorry.
So my question is for yield. So what does yield? What do I put in for yield to display my content? So what do I need here? You see, so I gather the data. I got the
Okay,
photo.
so you
After I get the data, what do I put here to get the
you can put the key quote and colon, and then you put the CSS selector for the quote.
Okay, so what does that mean in this particular context? So are you saying are you saying I need to put, what do I put here in this particular context? So do I put the code? I mean, what do I put for the
You can get to the text, for example.
okay, so so text. Okay, so if I put the
Class text.
okay, so if I do so put the text here. What do I put for speaker? I'm a little confused.
You can put the quote. Yes, it can be quote.
Are you saying the word or are you saying the
Yes, this is just the key as you want to organize the data that you have.
okay, so the code okay. And what does the get and list and strip do?
Yes, the get is to get the. Oh, this is something that I need to explain about the get that I didn't explain. I will explain to everyone there. Where's okay? So that is something that I think that it's worthwhile to show you that I didn't explain. Let me open here. Well, first there is a way on script that it's interesting that you can get a shell that will help you. So if you can do scrapey, shell, HTTPS, and the URL that you want to scrape, then you have the book Okay, it's IPDB or PDB. Okay, and then I have the response here. So you can see that the response is 200, and this response is exactly the response object that you will get on your parse method. And then you can play with that. It's a playground that will help you to create your spider. So I can do here response CSS dot quote. This is the div of the quote. If you go, where is the, which is here. I want first to get the smallest tag place that has the information that I want. And we can notice here that inside a div with class quote, we have everything that we need for one quote. But in this page, we have several of these, like this one, and this one. So I want to extract that. So if I do here, you will see that we have a list. Oh, what's my mouse? Okay. We have a list of all quotes that we have in that page, which is a selector. If I get the len of this, we have 10. We have 10 quotes in our page right now of this URL. And then we can save it. For example, in a quotes list. So we have 10 quotes selectors, and I want to get the first quote just for us to manipulate. So just get the first one, quotes, and it's a selector. And if in a selector, just a moment, I put .get, this .get, let me print it because we have the new lines. It will return me the string content of that selector. A selector is not the string. It's a class that has the string on it. So we have the get. Oh, go ahead with your question. Uh-huh. It's the scrapey shell. It's just like the Python shell, but just it has a couple methods already, and it already has the response of the web page. So we can use that for a playground for us to create our spider. So use that to get. Or we can, I want to get for this particular quote, I want to get the content of this span, which has the class text, and inside this span we have the quote that we want. So if you get quote, now instead of using get, I will do inside that div, I want now start digging into that to get the information that I want. So I do CSS, because I will be using a CSS selector. Okay, and I saw that I have a span with class text, because what happened if I put all span? It will get two spans, which will be this and this. But I want just a span with class text. We can do this, but because inside this div we only have one tag, it doesn't matter which, with class text, we could use that, but both works. And then what this is returned is a list of all selectors that has this response. What if I do a get now? Who can guess what will happen now? No, not a list. With the get. Remember when I did the quotes.get? I get the string representation of that selector. So this will be what we'll get here. We get the representation of this specific. So if I do quote.get, I have the entire div. If I do quote.css span.text, I will get only that part of div. Is that clear? Yeah? Sure. Because I see you in silence. I don't know if you understand everything or nothing. Sorry? Excellent question. So let's talk about the tags. Okay, because here I'm returning just one, and just one more thing. I don't want the span thing. I want the content. So text. Then when you do the get, we get just the content inside the selector. But there is another interesting question here about if you have multiple results. What is that? Why? What? Weird. Okay. For example, we have the tags. I want to get the list of the tags. We can do quote.css. I know that we have the class tag. And you have the selector. But if I do .get, I get just the first result of the list of selectors that matches. So I can use the get all, and it will return me the list of the string representation of all selectors. But in that case, I want the text of it. So text. And now I have a list of all the tags. Is it answer your question? Yeah. Because yes, this get all I didn't explain before. So you can use that to see. Okay, I think who finished, just to understand who could finish or get some data. Raise your hand, please. Please, more people, please. Oh, come on. Okay, I know that this is difficult. If you're not used to, it can be a bit complicated. But let me show the solution, my solution, because we can have multiple solutions. Okay. So let's start. We have the quote spider. It's just the name of the spider, domains, and the start URLs, the basic thing. And then we have our parse method, which will process our first URL or other requests if you don't provide a specific callback. And what is the first thing that I did? I get the response of that page and create a list, it's a list in this case, a list of all quotes that you have in the page, all the div that has the class quote, and for each quote selector in this list, I yield for each individual quote. I then get the data and put it, throw it back to the engine. So, okay, I have here the quote. It's a dictionary, a simple Python dictionary. So I get the quote here, dot text, colon text, get, the author, the same, because it has a class called author, get, And we also have the outer URL. If you notice, the link is relative, so we cannot process. So I put the response URL join just to create an absolute URL. And the tags, which I just showed that he asked, the tag, the text, and get all. So it return a list of items. So here I process the content of the first page. And okay, now I need to go to the next page. Yeah? Like this? Yeah. It's the way of a CSS selector to say that I want to get the text content of the tag. Like dot tag. Dot tag is a way to tell the class. So we have div. Let me. Here. If you get span, text is not a good name. It confuses more. But okay, so here, a small class alter. Let me copy here. So if you do dot alter, oops, typo, the selector that will be returned to me will be a representation of this entire tag. If I put double colon, yes, text, it will say, I want to get now the text content of this tag. So it will get anything that is here. So this is the reason of this. Okay? But this SSS selector, go ahead. Yeah, like this one, for example, if you have an ID, if I have a tag like that, alter1, you can use this, alter1, with the hashtag. This is the way that you filter by ID. Yeah, classes ID, or you can mix. So for example, if I have a P, for example, two with an alter. It's spread in the document two with the same class, alter. If I do dot alter, it will select me, it will return a list of two selectors, this one and this one. But if I put a P, like here, then it will select just this one. And there are other more complicated, complex rules that you can do, but it's not for this tutorial. It's just introductory. It's I put the link of some description of CSS selectors. You can take a look. So let me go back to the solution here. Okay, so we get the tags, and then then the navigation. Okay. Oh, just 1 minute, and it's time for the coffee. We want to navigate, so we get the next button in the button, and we send the request, and we get here the URL for the next page link, and we follow it. I didn't provide a callback, so this request, when the response comes back, it will process by the same parse method, because it's the next page will be exactly the same, just with a different content. So we can run it here. Go ahead.
Why is one of them following the response and the
Sorry? Oh, just okay. Here, why we are getting from the response here and not from quote here? Uh, Here we are get from the response because it's something that it's in the page that we return. So we get in the link of the next page. Here we have the quotes that we get from the response, and then we get a list of that selectors, that divs that has the individual information that I want. So as I'm iterating over this, I create a quote, which is a selector. So because I just want to get from that part. If I use response here, probably I would get just the first quote. Just let me run. So the solutions, Scrappy, run spider. Exercise 1, run. Okay, it was fast. And you can see we got 100 items and a lot of stuff. And one interesting thing about the request, when you try to send a request to the same URL again, Scrapy will not send it again. So you will not enter an infinite loop of send this request for the same page unless you tell to not filter. It's a thing to make safer. And another interesting thing, I run a spider, it went to the internet, so it's getting there. It's fast because it's more fun. But I have a setting, -s, HTTP cache under enabled equal to 1. What this will happen now? You run it. It's way much faster. You see that the data, where is the link here? Crawled. Here, crawled that page, cache it. When you run with this flag enabled, it will create a .scrapy directory, and it will save the content of the response. And this is useful for testing. You use the cache while you're developing, and you reach the website just once. And when you're done, you can reach the real website again to make it sure that everything is working. Yep. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't get what exactly you mean. Okay. No, you always get that big log. You can export the content. You can reduce the log level to info. You have, you will not see the items that you are using. You will only get if you export it to a CSV or etc. Maybe this will make the content cleaner, the logs cleaner to handle, but you always have some logs. Go ahead. Yes, if you run right now using this command with the cache enabled, it will get the content from the cache every time. Yes, yeah. And if you want to run against or you put equal to 0, so it will run against the real website, or don't provide it because the default is 0.
First time it looks to see if there's a cache, and if it's not, it creates it.
If you don't have the cache, it will create it in the .script directory. Otherwise, it will be reusing. The thing is that you need to clean the cache manually if you want to get a new version of the website. But for the development, it's more for the development. During the days, use it just to avoid to reach the website. Sometimes to read the website is slow and okay. I think that we have half an hour now to take a quick break. So we'll be back 11:05. But I'll be around here if you want to ask questions or get some coffee. Okay, I think that we can restart. And I'm glad to see the room full because it means that you don't want to run away from a tutorial. I hope that you are enjoying it. So if you have some feedback later, please let me know. You can say bad feedback as well, okay? No, don't worry. Well, we did this exercise during the break. I got some interesting questions, and one that I want to mention is someone asked me if you can log in a page, if you want to. Yeah, that's usually what we use on start requests. Instead of having a URL, we can do the login part here. We have a scraped.form request, which is like we are filling a form and posting it. Or you can use request, saying the method equal to post, and providing the right content type on the headers. So, and it keeps the cookies. So you can do post requests, and post requests can be useful not just for, you see now in exercise 2, we're not being doing a post, but the whole idea of sending different requests in the process, maybe you will be using that reaching different APIs. So let's go back to the second exercise. And I'm curious because no one asked me, but as you can see, this first one is a regular, plain, simple HTML website. Like, I love that the internet is still like that, pages like that, rendered on static pages, rendered in the server. But we do have now infinite scrolling and dynamic content. So this is what the second exercise is about. So our quotes page now, it features an infinite scroll. Think about your favorite social media website. Think about, I will not name any social media that has infinite scroll, but sites like that has an infinite scroll, and usually you want to get information from it. So when you reach, the page is the same, the idea. We have the quotes, but instead on click on the next page, you go to the bottom of the page, and then we reload it until you get, it doesn't reload, it loads dynamically. And what is the first thing that when someone gets a website like that do, or thing to do when you're doing web scraping? Oh gosh, I cannot use the request and beautiful soup or script. And I need to use Selenium. It's the first thing. Okay, it works, but we can do different. There is a tip, and you will be using that a lot. If you type F12, or if you right-click and inspect on the page, we have the developer tools. We have a network tab. And this tab is very interesting, and you'll be using a lot doing web scraping. I think that the concept of this exercise is one of the most important and it will open your view to do a lot of web scraping in different pages. So let me show. No, why not show the recording? I will show the real one. It's here, back. No, okay. Scroll. It's loading, so it loads, and then you go to the button. If you can see, it is loading and loading and loading. Okay, and if I open, let me see the page source of the page. So, okay, let's try to do what we did before. If you open it, you see, oh, 81 lines. Where are my quotes? Okay. So, you need, when I show here, I use the inspect. And here you can see the quotes, the HTML of the quotes. And this is something that I always see in news group, or Telegram groups, or that I participate on Python, that people say, oh, I'm doing that, I'm showing in the inspect, but when I get the response from request, I get nothing. Why? Because here, when you see the inspector, the content that you have here in the right, it's the rendered content. It's not the first content that you get from the website. And what we are parsing with scraping is the first content that you get. We don't parse JavaScript. We get just a plain HTML that can, after that, send new requests to get more data and then process it. So usually this is useful sometimes, but using the source code, view page source, view source code, depending on your browser, this will provide you a more, a better content what you get when you try to parse. And another question in the coffee break, yeah, we need to understand how the website works. We need to do some reverse engineering on the website to understand. There are not good automated ways to get data automatically. We do have some companies that provide some services that has some specific types of data. For example, I have an e-commerce website, and I have a URL, and I send the URL to the API, and they will have some automatic, some machine learning stuff running that will try to get information from the structure of the website and figure out that, okay, this looks like a price, this looks like the title. I have 99% certainty that this is a price, and this is the promotion, and this is a review. We do have that. It's okay, it works fine, but it's better than have a spider for each, but sometimes it's a website so bad structure that you will need to do that by hand. Okay, so let's see. Oh, 2 errors. Let's open here. I mentioned about the network tab. Let me show it. So I run it once. Let me see if I can get from scratch. Okay, this is from scratch. It's loading. So if you look here, the rendered content, we have just a bunch of quotes. So let's go down. Look, it appears more quotes. But if you go to the network tab, you see all the requests that our browser is doing. So the first one is a get to the dash scroll page, get some CSS, some jQuery, JS, icons, fonts, and then we have these 2 request here. Quotes.scratchscript.com -API /API/quotes question mark page equal to 1 and the same but page equal to 2. Interesting. So let's move another again to the button again and see. Oh, page 4. This is interesting. What is that? The content is being obtained by a third party, it's inside of the website, API. And this is very common in current JavaScript libraries that you have. It's very common. And other systems to use an API to get the data and return it back. So usually if you don't find the content there, it needs to come from somewhere. It's not from the void. It comes from somewhere. And usually it's an API. So find the API that returns the information and use that API. Instead of sending the request to the page, you send the request to the API directly and get the content from the API. So in this example, if I open the content of this API call, you see here the get to the page equal to 3. So we have a status code, etc. We have the request headers. This is important. In this exercise here, it's not important, but in a real world, it's important. Sometimes to be able to send a request to an API, we need to send a few specific headers. So you need to track it and look, and it's a try and error. Sometimes you get a bunch of headers, and you try until you find this set of headers that works. But if you look at the response, in that case, we have this response. It's a JSON. Let's see the raw. It's a JSON that has a key called hasNext. You see that this is related to hasNext page. We have a page. We have a list of quotes with the author, the link, the tags, the text. Oh, come on, it's the data that I want. Okay, I don't need to parse anything. Looks interesting. And if you go to the other page, and why not? Okay, now we have pages 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can see page 10 has next false page. Okay, in real world, we will not have a has next to know that we should do a pagination, but you get the idea. The whole idea is see the website, look into all the requests the browser do after you do the first request. And then try to, instead of sending the page and render the page, try to use that hidden request, as you can say, because it's not the one that you target first. Use that request and send these requests and process it. Okay. This is so important that you can use that in a lot of websites. It worked like that. Okay, I showed here. Oops, this is solution. No, I don't want to show you the solution. This is up to you to code. Close, oops. Okay, this is some boilerplate code that I did that can be helpful. Instead of having a start URLs, I suggest you choose the start request. And what would be a good first request for the spider? Are you targeting the quotes to scrap.com/scroll, or maybe the first page call to the API that we found? Maybe that's a good, yes. So you can send this first request here. And then the parse, if you are getting the API request, the response will be a JSON content. The content type of the headers, it means that that content will be a JSON. We have, Scrap has something. If you response.json method call, the data variable now, it will get that JSON and do the loads of the JSON into a Python dictionary. So on data, you have that dictionary, so you can process it, the Python dictionary that is structured in a way, loop into it, and use the items like we did in the other exercise. So we don't need to handle with CSS, XPath, okay? And then I didn't put there. Because we have multiple pages, do I have more pages to get? So we can do the other requests to other pages and this processing. Okay? So, okay, let's do it. 10 minutes, I think that it's enough. So let's try to get this working. Okay. I know that not everyone finished it, probably. But let's move forward, and you can try later. Okay, this is my solution. First thing, I saw that some people are doing the first request to the API in the first page. That's fine. I just created an attribute here to make it easier for me to identify the page and replace later, but okay. So I send a request to the first page, okay. So this is a string formatting, so I send a request to the first page. After that, I receive the response of the API, and I put it in the data variable, so response.json, I get the response there. And here, data is a dict. And then it's a structured dict in a way, and I want it in another way. So pure Python manipulate the dict in a way. So quote, I get the quote text. Author, I get the author name because we have an author with a link in the name, and I have the second. We have the URL, and we have the tags. Okay, it's a dict, and I'm manipulating it. And then I have the pagination. What is the current page that I am? Data get page. We have an indicator of the page there. We are in that current page. Do we have a next page? Yes or no? If it's false, we don't have a page, so we finish the parse and it's over. Otherwise, we get the next page, which is the current one plus one, and send the same request, but with this API URL, formatting with the next page. Okay? Just let me show. You can use shell, and because we do have a question mark on the URL now, you need to enclose with quotes, otherwise the shell will complain because question mark is a important thing here. So page 1, just to see what happened. So we have the response. If you go and see the headers, we can see that the content type of the header is an application data. And if you do data response.json, you can see here that we have a dict. It's a Python dict with the data. So data quotes 0, it's one quote. Data quotes 1 is another one. And then I will process it and get the data. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry? It is in the data. Yeah, in that case, has next. Oops, has next. It's true in the page 1. If I fetch page 2, fetch page 10, for example, it's the last one. I'm doing the same, just a way to do a new request to another page. And now response has next is true. Huh. It shouldn't be like that. Oh no, it's still on page 10. Weird. It shouldn't be in page 10. Page 10. Oh, maybe I didn't. Has next. Oh, now it's false. On page 10, it will be false. For the other ones, will be true. But this is for this example. Not that you find that this beautiful has next. Sometimes you just, one thing that sometimes you go to the next page, and if in that page you didn't get any item, you think, okay, I reached the end. Or if in the next page you get the same items as you get in the previous page, it ends. So it depends on the... Yes, exactly. And sometimes not to block spiders, but it's bad code too. You identify a lot of things that are not well coded doing that. Yeah?
The question was on tags, you have quote.get. Isn't tags a list if they get all?
There, here.
Yeah.
Oh no, yes, but this get is the get of the Python dict. It's not getting in the scrape selector.
It will be a list when it comes back.
Yes, it will get it will return a list because we have a list there.
But in the Python scraper, it's get all because it's
No, the get all is when you are dealing with partial selectors to get the data. In this case, we are dealing with Python dicts. So it's the object, Python object, and it has a list on that key. On the key tags, we have a list. So that's why you get a list in this case.
And the reason you're using get rather than just subscripting it is you want to get a none if it's not there.
Yeah. To get, if you don't have, you can get none or put a default value. And sometimes you don't want it to raise an exception that will break to be more resilient. There is another way I didn't show that I like to manipulate JSON. It's called James path. It's a way that you can create a string to navigate through the JSON, and it's very interesting. It's called like that. You can take a look at it later. It's an interesting way, not just for scrapers, but if you have a big dictionary and you don't want to do a lot of if analysis, if something's there, It's an interesting way to handle that. Okay, let's move forward. Okay, this, I don't know how this will be as an exercise, but let's see, because this is more complicated. Um, let's consider we have the spider in the first exercise. It ceases to work. It happens. That's why you need to monitor when you are running over and over. We need to monitor because suddenly it stopped to work, and you look the page looked the same. And what the heck happened? The website changed, and you need to know that, so you monitor. But let's consider that the spider we create in the first exercise ceases to work, and no errors in the log, so it's not having errors, okay? But no data. So let's open the website and see what it can be. It's this one. Look, the page is this and this. This and this. Almost the same because we don't have the top tags here, but this is irrelevant for what we're talking now. But read. It's looked like the same. But if you run it, it doesn't work. Why? Let's look into the source code. VRP source. Control U usually works too. And if you go here, we have the HTML. And what's that? Oh, look, we have var data equal to a list, and we have, look, our quotes are here. Why are here, not in the HTML that I wanted? Okay. So then we are doing some reverse engineering. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's impossible to figure out that. But in this case, we can look here. We have a JavaScript code that loops into the data and add the tag map and create a span with the class quote and the text and put all the information. So when rendered, if you inspect it and render, you see the content is just like in exercise 1. Okay, so we have this. How we deal with this? And are we going to find things like this? Do you think that we are going to find a code like this in real world? What? Wordle. Ah, that game. So you can see the answer of the game of today games. Look into the source code. You're cheating. You shouldn't be doing that. No, it's efficient, but it's not the point of the game. Yeah, by the way, I did that one time. Yes, I know what you did. Yeah. Then you need to create a version that can more sophisticated, but we will find a way to find the solution, right? Only if you create an API and only get the answer from the API, yeah, we can make it the game difficult for you. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we do have a React page, React.js page. We do have that. We do have a big block of content with a big JSON with the content that we want, and then React will process and create the screen. So sometimes you just open, and major e-commerce websites have that. You can look into some major e-commerce websites, and you see that. You will find the content of the data that you want, just like that inside a tag, a script tag, and instead of rendering it, you can just simply try to process it. How can we do that? Okay. We have the data here. Okay, it's an exercise, but I think that it will be better for me to go over it and not asking for you to develop, because first, the first thing, when you have a lot of data like this, you will need some rejects, which is usually people thinks it's complicated. It is. They are not wrong. So we do sometimes it's not possible, right? But you try to do some rejects manipulation of the data. It makes your spider complicated.
Oh, you're saying regex.
Yes.
You're not saying rejects.
Oh,
Regular expression. Yes.
sorry. English is hard. Sorry for my English. Sorry, regular expression. Because I say rejects in Portuguese, but regex. Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
So within Scrappy, we're calling the regular expression libraries. Yeah.
Yes, you call the regular expression. I'll say regular expression, so in the recording, people will also understand. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, my English is terrible. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, I lost myself now. Okay. Regular expressions. So we need to do some regular expressions here to get the information. Okay. And manipulate the text. This is difficult. This is not an easy task. And it works, but sometimes, depending on what you're doing, it's better to use a headless browser to render the page. But if you have so many items and you need a performance, so you don't want to wait too much because a headless browser is slow. I will show a headless browser example later. You can do that. It works, it's feasible, you get things fast in the sense of running, and it will execute fast. So what you do, this. Raw quotes, we get an XPath, one script, the script tag that we're talking about, and then we do RE under first, is the first match of the regex. I said it right that time? Yeah. That, yes, don't worry if you don't understand, okay? Sometimes I don't understand either. Okay, it's a var data equal, and then between parentheses is the part of the string that I want to get. And we have this question mark s colon, which means that I want to also match the new lines. So because we have data, square braces and new lines until I found a semicolon, and I want to get everything dot star, and between square braces. So yeah, that's it. This is the raw quotes. Let me run on shell. It will be easier to understand. Okay, Scrappy shell. This one. So if I do response, I will use CSS. It's the same. So we have a script. So we have .re and .re first, which you get the first string that matches what we want, and it's something like var data equal Okay, it found the var data, but I want, let me copy. Copy. Here, and I have here. Okay, yeah, got it. And this regex here, it gets from the square brace here until the end, which is, where's the source code here? Which is from here to here, okay? And after that, I got that part here. So I have the raw quotes here. Then I will do a JSON loads raw quotes, which will be my data. And data 0 will be my first quote. Data 1, my second quote. And this, yes, it's exactly the same as the previous exercise. The way that the dictionary is structured is the same. So let's move back to the solution here. I didn't ask for you to try this exercise because the main part is doing the regex. These parts are basically the same as the previous exercise. It's the same. This is not a good exercise. I need to change that. Then we get the quotes here, well, you get from the regex. And then we loads as a JSON, JSON.loads. This is from Python. Sometimes the string that you get here is not a valid JSON. So we need or try to clean the string before, or you need to use more regular expressions to parse the data. Or there is a library called JS2XML, which convert JavaScript code into an XML, so you can use XPath to find information. Just different tools, different libraries. It gets more complicated depending how the website is. But yeah, go ahead.
In this example, the response, why does it have an XPath in it? Like, what would be the argument that goes in there once you actually use this piece of code?
You mean
Why would the response have an XPath?
here? No, the response always have a XPath.
Oh, it always has one. Okay.
Yes, it always have, because it's the HTML return of the page, the entire. And then I find the script tag, and on that script tag, then I use the regular expression, the regex, to get the part of the string, because an HTML is a big string, just with some structure we can see and the computer can read. But and then here I put the raw quotes, so I get a string. And from this point on beyond, basically it's a pure Python, nothing to do with scraping. So we load it, and then we process it as before, as we did in the next exercise. In this page, we also have a next page link. So we just send a request to the next page link. And because the next page will be exactly the same, we can use the same parse method to process it. It will do the same thing. So we use here the next page, and then we are good. Go ahead.
So we could have done it the same way that we've been doing before, but for this exercise and this web page, it also has that script, so we're just showing
Yeah, just showing that because we have two main ways that data can be hidden. Other than the regular HTML with everything like that, a plain single page HTML like at the beginning of the internet, we have two main, or the API content. So we get a basic page, a basic HTML, and we will have a JavaScript. We called it Ajax in the past. A JavaScript that we send requests to an endpoint or get other JavaScript with information and process it, which is the exercise 2. And now, this wasn't that common before, but now with the new JavaScript, they are doing that more frequent from my perspective, from what I'm seeing. And they put all the data inside the page, but inside the script tag, and this is the whole idea. So these two exercises are the two biggest challenges that you find when scraping something. Unless you are trying to get data from some government data. So this is a nightmare. They use every kind of old technology, and it's a different kind of websites to handle. Okay. That's it for this exercise. Oh, okay, I need to, oh, gosh, I don't have, huh? Yes, no, yeah. I have 30 minutes, but I have a lot of slides yet. Yes, I need to hurry a bit. There is another exercise. This one I will ask, I will give 5 minutes so for you to try. One item, multiple requests. What I mean, sometimes the information that we need are not located inside just one web page, like this one. Each quote, which is the unit of thing that we want, is in one page. Sometimes we are in multiple pages. So we need to build, to complete an item, we need to get in multiple pages. So we need to send multiple requests for the same item to gather it. And Scrapy has two ways for when you send a request. You have two ways to send the request and provide some metadata between requests. So I send a request now, and when I get the response, I want to get the metadata from the initial, the location that initiates the request. We have the request.meta and request.cbkwrks. Let me show that. So this is just an example of the second exercise, which we already know beforehand how many pages do we have. Usually we don't, but this is just an example. So we have num pages. And so for each page number and the range, so count from 1 to 10, we send the request, paste in the page num, and also we send meta, it's a dictionary, with the page number here. And what this indicates, it's a way that when we parse this, the response of this request, we will have access to a meta key called page where I can get this information from where the request began. And also on meta, we have a lot of options from Scrapy that we can use it to manipulate things, configuration. A lot of middlewares use things in meta. Okay, so we have the meta here. You look into the documentation to see the other keys that we can have. But you can create arbitrary keys that don't collide to the ones that we have built in. And then we have the parse, and then we can get the meta here, request.meta page. It's a dictionary, okay? And then we do the processing as before. Doesn't matter that. Or we can use CB kWRX. The only difference is that the content come here in the method. You have the current page. It's the same name that you put here, current page. We have here current page, and you can use that. I think it's more beautiful. Of course, it's more readable to understand, but both works, and you find in real code both ways. And the idea of the exercise 4 is to get the exercise 1. Let me open the exercise 1, and I will do some. Okay, we have the exercise 1 here, the solution. This is my solution, yours can be the same. But I want you to follow the author URL to get some information from that page, and then you can return the complete item of the quote. Because if we open here, if you open here in the about, we have here this area called born. I want you to add to each quote the born date of the person that said that quote. Okay? So this is the exercise. Some tips. You can, what I put here? Okay, yeah. It's the same solution of the exercise. Instead of use the item, you could store the item here and then send the request to other page. And when you are sending the request here on this request here, we are not providing a callback. But this is the same if I say that callback, it's a new parameter of the equal to self dot parse. This is the default. Oh, where's the mouse? Okay. That we will run here. But we could send a request for a quote like here. And I will have where should I go URL and the callback. You can have another parse method like this one, parse about page. So we can pass that way. So what we need to change here to make it work, and I will give you 5 minutes to do that. We want to follow the author URL. So we need here, we should go to the author URL, but we are not using the item here. We want to send the item that we built, which is a not completely filled item, to this request. So we can use the meta or we can use the CB KWRX and send a request. And then here on the parse about page, we will be receiving a dictionary. We will add the born date to the item. And here, we will really return the item that we have it complete. Is that clear, that complicated, or we can try to do that? I will give 5 minutes, so I will have time to talk about other stuff. Okay. Who managed to finish? Okay. Oh. No, I want more. Raise it hands. Please, if you don't, hide the hand so I can be happy and pretend that everyone finished it. Okay, not a problem. I know that this is difficult. I'm I'm not expecting that you will get everything from the start because the concepts and the mental model that you need to have to process it gets some time to get, but the idea of the tutorial is at least you know that you need to know that and practice, and I suggest you to practice a lot later in real websites on this one. But okay, so this is the solution. No, no, it's not good like that. These slides are not good to show the solution. It's a lot of code. Let me open the solution. Okay, so the first part is just like the exercise 1. But the first difference in the about URL, the author URL, we can say that, instead of adding it to the item, I just put in a variable because I'm going to use that in more than one place. And instead of yielding the item like you did before, I put it into a quote info, a variable, it doesn't matter the name, with the information that we have available in this moment. Because we don't have the born date yet. We want to get it from the about URL. But the author URL is here. And then we yield a new request to the about URL with the callback, which means that the response of this specific request will not be processed in the parse method. It will be processed in a in a method called parse about page. So you can see that we have the response here, just like the parse method. And I'm using meta. You could use the CB, the KWRX, but with quote info, the quote info, the data that I already have, the data that I have. And let me not talk about the don't filter yet. I will show why we have that. And then we have the pagination, because we have next page as before. And looking at the parse about, it's just a simple method. So I get a quote. We have the response.meta quote info, okay? And then I parse the author born date using the CSS. We have a class born date, get the text, okay? And add it to the item assigned in the dictionary. So let's run it and see what happened. Okay. Scrappy, run spider, exercise 4. Okay. We got 50 items. Okay, but we have some redirects and dup filter. We have some duplicated filtering. And we have some response here. But why we don't have the 100? Because I mentioned before that Scrapy, when you get the request, if you send the request before, it will not try to send it again. Because we don't want it to enter in an infinite loop of sending the same request. It sends just once. But we have an author have more than one quote. So it will get on, it send the request to the about page just for the first. And as we are not yielding the item just in the second parse method, we lose the other request, the other items. So you just need to put a new here. It's don't filter equal to true. So if this URL, this request was made before, it doesn't matter. Send it again. Maybe this is not efficient because sometimes you will be doing more requests than you need, but it's just an example. And sometimes you really need to don't filter. So if I run it now, we do have 100 items. We get everything. And the results are the same as exercise 1. It's not a big deal. Okay. So let's continue. Headless browsers. Okay, we have time. As I mentioned, we have a lot of websites with JavaScript rendered, and sometimes we can get. Sometimes it's very hard. I was trying, in my hackerspace, we have an application with the calendar. I tried to do that without using headless browser, and it was quite difficult. Use Vue.js, and the content, I need to do a lot of regex, and I gave up, and let's throw a headless browser. But this is primarily used for accessing websites that heavily rely on JavaScript, like Vue, React, Angular, or any new framework that they create 3 hours ago. And since it uses a real browser, the engine of the browser at least. Sometimes you don't see the UI of the browser, but the engine of the browser is executed. They are slower and more challenged to scale. So we have 1 million websites to parse. It will be slower than doing the plain request. But then you need to see for your use case how much time you want to spend and the difficulties of that. And the solutions that we have of headless browsers, usually they are used for automating testing rather than web scraping. They were designed for automated testing rather than for web scraping. We're talking about Selenium and Playwright. Okay, they are the most well-known, Selenium and Playwright. Selenium is a huge ecosystem with a lot of other stuff that you can create. It's complicated. I don't know, only know the surface of how Selenium works. And it's quite old, so it's almost a dinosaur for internet standards of age. It's very, very old. And we have Playwright, which is new. And we have a scrape integration, which is called Scrape Playwright. So if you install it, you can use that. And it's good. It run, it change your downloader, the part that gets the data from the internet. It use the Playwright and call the browsers. And you can do some interactions. You can, click on that button, or wait until the loading spin appears, or wait until certain amount of items show. We can have a lot of these rules. It's very interesting. It's useful and good for, but it's slower, of course. So to enable that, we have some settings. After you install the library, the extension, we change the download handlers. Instead of using the default one, use the Scrape Playwright ones for HTTP and HTTPS. Indicate the. So that's interesting. You can use other protocol structures, and you have a downloader for each protocol. A different reactor from Twisted used a sync.io reactor. It's something from, because it's asynchronous, it's different. And you have a meta indicating that you want to use Playwright. But in the meta, you can also add a lot of other things. The interactions that you want to do in the page, you can put here in the meta tag. And I did two versions just for you to see. It's the with Playwright true and false. Let's run it. And there is another setting. We can use the Playwright launch options to headless true or false. The default is false, but okay, let's show it here. It's headless true. Scrippy on Spider. Playwright enabled. Let's see how it will be. Look that it's slower, right? Okay, it finished. What happened? You can see a lot of different stuff here. The logs. First, the logs. We have using async.io. Here. Spider open. So starting download handler. Launching browser, Chromium. Context of the browser. We can provide some context. New page. Send the request. Get the response. And you can see more than one request, not just one, because we have a browser. So the browser, when you open a page, we don't get only the page. We get CSE, CSS, JavaScript content. Here, jQuery, other CSS file, fonts. So we download a lot of other things that maybe you don't need. That's one of the reasons why it's slower, because we need that information to be able to render the page properly. Okay, and if you see, what's the code? Here, I saved to the content of the page as Playwright enabled, and let me run with Playwright disabled. Look that it's much faster because I'm not handling it, just sending the request. And if I see the content of the files, this is the content when Playwright is enabled. I'm running that page of the JavaScript generated content, the exercise 3. And if you go here, you see the data. Okay, but here we have the rendered content. And because of that, I can use the regular, here on the response, I can use the regular CSS and XPath selectors to manipulate and get the information that I want. If I turn headless false, I don't want it to be headless, and run it. You can see, okay. You saw it? You saw the browser? So it opens the browser. I have the other is Playwright quotes. Let me see if the headless is turned off. Here, headless false I want. This is the quotes /JS with Playwright. And here, the difference is also async def is asynchronous, but it's not important now. But we have the response, and everything is just like the other. And we can have requests with Playwright and requests without, if you don't want all of the requests. It's good that you can even take screenshots of the page if you want. You can do a lot of stuff. And look. Oh, it goes to ever page, and you see the browser. So headless, it's better to be headless because we don't want to spend time opening if you're not going to use the information. Yeah, but that's it. It's a good tool. I think that it's worthwhile to spend some time learning a bit of it. Some websites are more complicated, and this will be very useful. This Scrapy Playwright library is quite new. Not that new. Yeah. Oh, yes, it's around 2 years. Not that new. I thought that. I thought it's a newer, but it's in active development. I know the developer worked with him, the main maintainer. But I think that it's a good alternative for you to work with websites that are difficult to do without proper rendering. Okay, and beyond the spiders, we talked about the spiders. What else we need to care when we are doing a gathering project, a data collecting project? Okay. Monitoring. We need to ensure that we are getting the data that we need in the format that we need, the way that we want. So we need to monitor. So I want to check if all the items that I'm returning, for example, the quotes. Oh, sorry. Okay. All the quotes that we have tags. We need to can validate that. We can use libraries to validate that. Or we want to ensure, and we noticed in a broad product project in an e-commerce that 70% of the items that is returned usually has a discount price, and you can monitor that. Or we are expecting every day that we run against some place, we expect to extract at least 1,000 items. And if suddenly we get 10 items, there is something that I want to be noticed. So we use some tools to monitor. It's important to have this in your project because it make your life easier. Because we cannot create a unit test for the parse method. It's difficult because we have no control over the input. We only can monitor. We can unit test the helper functions. Okay, I receive a string like that, and I want to return something like that. We can unit test that. But the parse, we can save an HTML page and create a unit test of that page. Okay, expect on this page to get this response. Okay, it will work until the target website change the entire layout. The unit test will be passing, but the layout is not valid anymore. So we need to monitor it. For Scrapy, we have the Spidermon. It's a library. I am one of the maintainers of this library. It integrates well. You can create monitors just like unit tests with the assertions of unit test and create some actions. So you can be notified by Slack. You can be notified on Telegram or Sentry. You can send information to Sentry. There are a lot of interesting rules. So you need to care about monitoring. If it's something that will be run in a long term. Proxies, it's important to avoid the IP bans and anti-bot services. Yes, they will try to block us. Certainly they will. And if you are doing web scraping in a professional way, you definitely will need a proxy. Because otherwise they will ban your IP. Okay, I'm sending 1,000 requests using this IP. They will block you for a while. And if it's something like scale, you need a lot of computers for network. You don't have a network in just your own computer. Access region-specific content. That is something interesting. There are some cities in Brazil, if I access right now the site of the city to get the diary, the official diary, I will not be able to get here in the US because they block. If outside the Brazil, they will not allow me to download. It's stupid, but it happens. So I will need a proxy to get the information. Or it's region specific. There are some e-commerce, big e-commerce here in the US I can't access from Brazil. So, or the products that are shown are different because of the location. And we have data center, residential, mobile proxies. One time that I didn't mention some mobile proxies is sometimes you can use, put a proxy, a man-in-the-middle proxy. There are MITM proxy you can install and access the website using your mobile. And there are some APIs that are only working on mobile, and you can get information from the mobile version of the website. Sometimes it's better than get the desktop version of the website. And proxies, good, they are easily integrated with Scrappy. We have the extension from the majority of vendors that provides proxy services. Scrappy has integration with it. And what else? So, as I said in the beginning, be polite, don't scrap too fast. Follow the terms of service. This is someone asking me about login. You can log in, but you should follow the terms of service because depending on the terms of service, you cannot do automatic operations if you're logged because the terms of service forbid you. And you also need to be careful when scraping personal data. Usually when you get the factual information, you don't have problems, it's okay. It enters in the is it legal part, it's fine. But when you enter with personal data, you need to know the rules of your country, and each country has different rules. I know that the US has, and Europe, Brazil also we have how to handle, and it's not even to get, but how you are be using that personal data and copyrighted data and so on. You need to be aware of that. And about the legal, yes, it's legal. There is a talk on PyCon 2020. You can look into that. The title say, web scraping, is it legal? Yes, it is. Something like that. You can look in PyVideo. We have the talk. It's PyCon 2020. And there were a case from a company, I think it's HiQ, against LinkedIn, because they were collecting data of the public profiles of the person and providing a service to understand if people were going to change jobs, etc. And LinkedIn entered in a sued them, but they were not logged, so it's public data. So there is a precedent, at least here in the US, which is legal, and other countries may have different, but you need to be aware. I'm not a lawyer, but you need to be aware that depending on what you're doing, you may have a problem or not. But usually if you get in factual data, for example, it's a product, it's a real estate, get it. It's a fact that we have that. The price of the product of this real estate is that. It's not something, it's not an article or a picture, a photograph from an artist. This is copyrighted material. You shouldn't be. If that, then you need to look into the term. If not a Creative Commons with dependent of the rules, you shouldn't be doing that. Not because it's on the internet, it's free, okay? But that's things that you should worry. I want to thank you, obrigado. I want to thank you all to spend 3 hours with me. I hope that you learn a bit of web scraping, learn a bit. I hope that it was useful. Sorry for the exercise. I know that sometimes they are not easy to follow. I know that sometimes I didn't have some answers regarding the environment that breaks. Sometimes in different computers, sometimes things didn't work well. But I really hope that you enjoyed the tutorial. I will be around for the rest of the conference. You can reach me. We can take a lunch. You can invite me for a beer. I accept it. No problem. I will always accept a beer. So thank you all, and see you all later in the conference.